there's a spirit of anarchy.
Democrat lawmakers are asking for military intervention in the cities. That's in Washington, D.C. They're begging for the National Guard. Welcome to Doug in Exile. I'm Doug TenNapel, and I'm looking for the headlines that will mean the most to you. This one is from Fox News, where the hosts are interviewing a Democrat politician and holding his feet to the fire because the inner cities in America are run almost entirely by one party, the Democrats, and they're being destroyed. And now they're starting to call for help.
One Democratic councilman is now calling for military intervention.
And lawlessness rampant through our communities. I've never seen this onslaught of violence portrayed on our women and our kids. And enough is enough.
Enough is enough.
We are clearly in a war zone. So I have spoken with the DC National Guard. And while I have to have more conversations with the chief of police, which I have today, and the mayor and my colleagues, we have a long way to get there. We just know that police alone is not getting it done. We're simply asking our federal partners for help and presence in our community because we know that officers who have a handgun can't combat 3 people with AR-15s and AK-47s shooting down the street.
So you can see the panic the community is in. They're very serious about this, and they're hurting. And of course, it's the women and children that DC politician called out. It's the women and children who suffer the most. Remember, Democrats keep claiming to be the pro-woman party. But how are your women and children doing in cities? They're terrified. You'll see more coming up here from women who have to live in Oakland.
And on the West Coast, Oakland, California is dealing with a crime surge of its own. The local chapter of the NAACP is blasting city leaders, calling on them to declare a state of emergency. And many residents there are scared. And the city's solution to the rising crime is not comforting.
Can't take it anymore. I got to the point I was too scared to leave my house. The fact that I am being pushed out because I emotionally can't take it anymore is horrible.
Oakland police recommended steel braces for residential doors and air horns.
The idea is if you set it off, your neighbor would hear it, set theirs off, and more people are alert that there's danger.
They'll recommend steel braces and air horns, anything but more cops and arming citizens. That'll never happen. And this is all about catch and release, where they catch criminals and they let them back out on the streets. And that's what's wrong with all of these cities now being taken over by crime. And it's terrible. California is a beautiful place. Our family just spent 2 weeks there. And there's so many parts of it that are wonderful. I was raised there. But the deepest, thickest parts of the cities are all collapsing under Democrat rule in America.
When I hear the councilman, when I hear that woman leave Oakland, it breaks my heart. I will tell you, though, it's a combination. It's not just the cops, but it's the prosecutors. To know that that councilman in Florida's case, in D.C.'s case, where they let the person go. In D.C. right now, they let go of 67% of the people they arrest within 24 hours. That's not right.
You're a Democrat. And I hear you, like that D.C. city councilman, White Jr., saying, we got to do this, we got to do that. Well, where were those voices when defund was going on? Where were those voices when millions of dollars from George Soros was being poured into changing the policies of these DAs and how they adjudicate? And would you be willing to see some different voices? You named Democrats who could step up.
Yeah,
but I mean, how far are you going to go to protect those cities?
How far is this Democrat going to go? Harris Faulkner has this guy nailed to the wall. He would rather hire a Democrat that will not fix the problem than ever give a Republican a chance in the cities. He loves his politics more than he loves the people in the cities.
And I think people
are seeing a far left push.
Yeah.
The question is, are voices, big voices in the party like yours, going to stand up and say, you know what, maybe we ought to look to a much more moderate Republican as well?
Well, I think both parties are getting drawn from the far left and the far right. And I do think most Americans want someone who's going to just put the country first.
They just want someone who's going to put the country first. So why don't you start doing that? Because your party is a fiasco in the cities. They won't even consider Republicans. Harris Faulkner nailed him on that. Meanwhile, let's find out if the National Guard is going to get called into D.C. This is getting beyond our ability to police. Thank you all for subscribing. This is where you're going to get the news and the headlines that you need. And we appreciate your viewership. I'm Doug in Exile.